back for part 2 of the lesson that we entitled Elusive Happiness. I mentioned in the previous lesson that happiness is something that we all want. It's something we've experienced. It's something that we know we want. It's something we desire. And yet, even though we seem to desire it so much, we have no clue as to how to get it. And you know what? It's not just that we don't know how to get it. It's not for lack of trying. We've tried everything. If we take all of our collective human experiences when it comes to the issue of happiness and we put them together on the table, we see that in the realm of human experience, we have yet to find the activity, the ingredient which can bring us to real happiness. So the question remains, my friend, this is what we left off with at the end of the last lesson, the first part, is what is it that can bring me, what is it that can give me that elusive thing, that wispy thing called happiness? So the truth is, I would like to explore one more view, which was brought about by the famed psychologist Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a Viennese Jew who was both a neurosurgeon and a psychologist. And he was deported from Vienna during the Holocaust, where he was brought to Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, he writes in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that he encountered the worst possible positions ever. And he potentially reached a point in his life of the greatest despair he ever had. He had summed up his life's work in a manuscript, which he had just finished writing before he was deported to Auschwitz. And when he got to Auschwitz, he did everything within his power to try and hide the manuscript so that the Germans, the Nazi Germans, Yamach Shmam v'zichram, that their memory should be erased forever. That the Germans shouldn't find it, the Germans shouldn't destroy it, that his work should survive. But you know what happened? They found it, they destroyed it in front of his eyes, and he became totally depressed. And he was thinking to himself in his mind for the longest time about how his life was totally purposeless, how it was meaningless. But then he found within himself a little corner. And he said to himself, what are these people? What are these Germans? What are these Nazis trying to do to me? What they're trying to do to me, he says, is they're trying to break my spirit. You know what the one thing is that I have in my possession that I am never going to give them? I'm never going to let them break my spirit. I'm never going to give them that satisfaction. He found a certain corner in the recesses of his mind in which he was totally happy, in which he felt that he had a purpose in life. And using that purpose, he discovered that he was able to overcome the atrocities that the Germans committed on him during the Holocaust. When he came out of the Nazi inferno and he made his way to America, he opened up an entire style of psychology, a method of psychology which he called logotherapy. He sums it up in his book as Man's Search for Meaning. The truth is, in my opinion, what it should have been called is Man's Search for Purpose. Because the truth is that logotherapy was based entirely on the fact that in order for a person to find happiness in life, he must have a purpose. But what type of purpose is it? For many Jews that came out of the Holocaust, the first purpose, like Viktor Frankl's, was, I'm not going to let those Nazis destroy who I am, destroy the human in me, destroy the person that I am. And they made it through the Holocaust in the merit of that. But you know what? Then the Holocaust was over. And they asked themselves, well, what's my purpose today? And many Jews found that the purpose that they had today was to rebuild. That the Nazis should not succeed in having destroyed the Jewish people. I'll show them just how much they didn't succeed. We'll show them, we'll build families, we'll build a country. We will become the greatest that we could ever be just to show them. And thank God, after many years, it's almost, 60 years, it's a little bit more, since the Holocaust. And we have rebuilt the Jewish state, we've repopulated the Jewish world, and we've made it that goal. And unfortunately, because of that, many survivors of the Holocaust asked themselves then, well, now what's our purpose? We've rebuilt, we've done it. What's the purpose today? And they told themselves, you know what the purpose is? To tell in the next generations. And that's what's going on. So long as there's a Holocaust survivor today, that's what they're still doing. So Viktor Frankl understood intrinsically, intuitively, that when you're going to find something that gives you purpose in life, the purpose is what's going to give you happiness. As long as you have a purpose, he says, you have the ability to find happiness. So what did he do? He created logotherapy. In logotherapy, what he would do is, his patients that would come to be treated, he would help them explore what it is in life that gives them a purpose, and he would tell them, now that we've discovered your purpose, go ahead and do it. And he did this for many, many, many years, and he was very successful at doing it. As I mentioned, he wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning. Basically, he summed up how he arrived at this theory, at this method of psychotherapy, and how he applied it in his day-to-day life. But if I were to sum it up in a nutshell, find a purpose, work towards the purpose, and that will give you meaning, that will give you happiness in life. But the problem is that once upon a time, he discovered that it just doesn't work for everybody. There was a certain doctor, a very elderly doctor, who came to him for treatment. And he told him, listen, my wife recently passed away. He was in advanced old age. He says, I'm never going to remarry. My children have nothing to do with me. My fellow doctors don't come to consult me anymore, even though he was the head of a department. He says, everything I knew once upon a time is now outdated. Nobody needs me anymore. So what is my purpose, he said to himself. He said, doctor, you got to help me out. What is my purpose in life? So if the guy was a younger man, and he felt that he needed to learn music, so once upon a time, Viktor Frankl would say, you have music within you, go get it out. But here you have this old man, this man who felt that he was at the end of his strength. He had nobody to whom he could confide, nobody with which he could have happiness. He had no one in his profession which he could share his knowledge with, because whatever he knew was outdated. Where was this man supposed to find purpose in? Where was he supposed to get it from? And at this point, Viktor Frankl raised his hand and says, I give up. I don't know. Where can we find a purpose that will answer this man? Well, my friends, I'm here to tell you today that even though modern psychology and the secular world does not have the answer to these questions, as we've explored in the last class and up until now with Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, the Torah itself does have this. And they sum it up in a core value. This is a Mishnah which we find in the Ethics of Our Fathers, Masechet Avot, in the first chapter. It says, Ezehu Ashir, who is the wealthy person? We're not talking about physical wealth here. As we mentioned in the previous lesson, wealth, physical wealth, or lack thereof is not going to give you happiness. Ezu Ashir, who is the wealthy person? Our sages say, Hasameach bechalko. Only the person who can find happiness with what he has, his portion, his lot in life, that is the person who is truly wealthy. Now what does that mean? Let me give a little background. Another statement that our sages tell us in the oral Torah is that a person has to wake up in the morning and say, Bishvili nivra ha'olam. The entire world was created for my sake. What does that mean? Let me give an example. If you have a person, a wonderful benefactor, he comes, he buys you a house, buys you clothing, gives you food, he gives you everything that you need. He gives you motivation, he gives you an occupation, he helps you out in all manner of things. What is this person looking for? What is he out for? What is his connection to you? Well, there's only one of two things I would say about this person who is so giving on my behalf. He's either absolutely 100% verifiable, he's insane, or that person truly, honestly loves me. And it could be that that person truly, honestly loves me more than anybody else in all of existence. But you want to know something about relationships? Relationships is a two-way street. If you have two people, one loves the other person, but the other one only likes the other, then you don't really have a loving relationship. It's all one-sided. Our sages tell us that a person who wakes up in the morning and he says, Bishvili nivra olam, for my sake the world was created. What's that supposed to mean? What am I supposed to understand from that? That God, during the 6 days of creation, took the time to prepare our world for my sake. What does that mean? Am I supposed to go out and ride all of the bicycles, drive the fast cars down the street, fly all the airplanes? Is that what I'm here in the world for? The answer, my friends, is no. The world was created so that you have at your disposal all of the utensils that you required to make a relationship which is everlasting and was based on true love. When a person loves another person, right? We've all seen it in the various television programs and the movies. A man loves a woman. A man loves a woman so much that he's willing to give up his life for the person that he loves. Why in the world would he give up his life for the sake of love? What is love? What is it that is inherent in love which would make somebody decide, my entire life is less valuable than the love that I have for this other person? What is it that they find in love? The answer, my friends, is that inherent in love is happiness. The world was created that I should make a relationship with the world's creator, with the Ribono Shel Olam. When God created the world, He gave me all of the utensils, everything at my disposal which I need to love Him. But before I can come to the conclusion that I have a side to play in this relationship, I have to go out and I have to decide, I have to recognize how much God loves me. When our sages said, Ezu ashir hasameach bechelko, who is the wealthy person? Only a person who is happy with his lot. They meant to say, take a good close look at your life and find out just how blessed you are. If a person takes for granted everything that he has in life, if a person doesn't understand the value of his physical abilities and his physical possessions, then he is not capable of understanding how much God, the creator of the world, loves you. If a person takes a look, for example, at the things that he's capable of doing and they cost him nothing, he didn't have to do anything to do them. For example, among the children that God gave me, I have a daughter with cerebral palsy. She can't write like other girls. She can't walk like other girls. She has trouble speaking like other girls. And I take a look at this daughter of mine who's so special in my eyes, has been a tremendous blessing for both me and my family, and I say, why is it that I got these gifts? I can write, I can run, I can walk, I can do all these things, and I got them for free. It didn't cost me anything. The only reason that I recognize these gifts in my life is because there are people who are different. So I see my daughter who doesn't have these gifts, and I ask myself, wow, what a gift. I say to myself, what a gift I was given by the creator of the universe that I can do these things. There's an amazing story that I heard about one of the great Roshei Yeshiva in America. When he was an advanced age, he lost the ability to walk. And one of his grandchildren came up to him and he said to him, Grandpa, he says, aren't you a little upset that you lost the ability to walk? And he said to his grandson, he says, grandson, you have to recognize that if a person came and they gave you $1 billion, and after 50, 60, 90 years they came back to you and said, can you give me $1 million back? Would you be angry at the guy who gave you the $1 billion? The answer is clear, no. I'd say, wow, you gave me the opportunity, you gave me such a tremendous gift for so long. So if you're asking back a tiny drop in the bucket, you want a little bit back, that's all. No problem whatsoever. I do it with happiness. I do it with rejoicing. When a person recognizes how many blessings he has in life, if a person has children and he looks at his neighbors or his friends or people that he knows, acquaintances that don't have those children, and he asks himself, wow, look at this blessing that I have. I have children. Do you think that it's such a thing, that it's available for everybody? Do you think that it's something which comes for nothing? The answer is, for many of us, yes. It's a blessing that we don't even try very hard at, and yet we're given it anyway. When some people find that they have an easy time in making a livelihood, and they don't recognize that other people are sweating and they're working and it's hard for them, in order to eke out that livelihood, to make it to the end of the month, they have to say to themselves, wow, look how easy it is that I have a livelihood which comes so easily and I don't have to make that much effort. When we recognize all of the blessings that we have in our life, it becomes available for us to open up the pathway to a relationship with God. And when we have a true relationship, when a relationship is based on love, then we know that we're willing, even to the extent of giving our life for the other person. A loving relationship, love in the world, that is what's going to bring us to happiness. But how is it that we achieve a loving relationship? All of that I mentioned up until now, recognizing the blessings that we have in life, recognizing that we have been blessed, being happy with our lot in life, as I mentioned in the name of our sages before. Who is the wealthy person? A person who is happy with his lot, with what he has. He's happy, he recognizes the blessing. That only opens the door in order to create a relationship which is lasting and meaningful. And when it's with the creator of the world, it's also forever. There's so many people in life who are looking how they can make their name, how they can last forever, how they can live forever. Many people, they try all the medical facilities available, advanced genetics, robotics, cybernetics, everything that we read about in the books and the comic books and the science magazines. They try dedicating things. They say, if I dedicate a statue, I dedicate a building, that dedication, it will last forever. My name will be there forever. But the truth is, my friends, that there's an opportunity to last forever and ever and ever. And that is when we take our part and we make a relationship with God, the creator of the world. So how do we go about making that relationship, taking that step in order to make a relationship with the creator of the world? So for that, my friends, we have to know that there are 3 venus available to us. This is also another statement of our sages in the ethics of our fathers in the first parak, in the first chapter. Our sages say that there are 3 things which are the pillars of the world. Al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed. There are 3 things which are the pillars of the world. Al ha'torah, on the Torah, al ha'avodah, on the work, ve'al gmilut chasadim, and on acts of loving kindness to my fellow human being. The Torah, which the God, the creator of the world, gave us at Sinai, has within it everything we need to know who it is that we are creating a relationship with and build that relationship. The avoda is referring to my personal work in creating a relationship. A relationship cannot be based simply on the fact that there is. Communication lines need to be opened. We have to be able to talk to the other person. What is avoda? Our sages say it's referring to the act of prayer, tefillah. When a person opens up his heart and relates all of the difficulties he has in life, and he says thank you to the creator of the world for all of the blessings that he has in life, he opens up the venu, he opens up the lines of communication which are necessary in order to begin building a tremendous relationship. And lastly, we said gmilus chasadim. Gmilus chasadim is acts of loving kindness. When I go out of my way to stop being selfish, to stop thinking about number one, which would of course be me, if I stop thinking that I'm there in the world and that the world, instead of being created for me to build it, being created for me to make it special, it's created for my own personal enjoyment. As long as I look out for number one and be careful not to step on number two or even to step on number two, then you have to know that you've closed off you've closed off a line of making that connection, a loving relationship with the creator of the world. We have to know that there are other people in the world, and by means of doing acts of loving kindness with my fellow Jew, with my fellow human being, I have the ability to open up a new line which leads to happiness. And let me end with a short story. I once asked one of my children, who, after they had gone out and they had spent a very long day helping out a good friend of theirs who was in need. It was a child who was disabled. They spent a lot of time with them, talking with them, helping them. And when they got home, I decided, I was going to apply a lesson that I learned from one of my rebbeim. And I gave them chocolate. I said to myself, oh, you've worked so hard. Come and enjoy a piece of chocolate. And they had some chocolate. And I gave them a little more. And they had a little more. I said, you still want more? Okay, a little bit more, no problem. Had a little bit more. I said, you still want more? They said, listen, Abba, Daddy, that's a little bit too much already. I said, well, but come on, you enjoy it. You'll want some more, right? So they said, listen, too much of this is no good. But I said to them, you know what? If I ask you tomorrow or next week, what do you think? How good was that chocolate? Do you think you'll really care? Do you think this is a memory you'll keep with you forever and ever? Do you think that you'll sit and think about it for nights and how it warms you at night that you ate chocolate with your Abba afterwards? The answer, she said, Abba, probably not. Daddy, I don't think I'll remember it a little while from now. So I said to her, do you know what? What about that act that you did? What about the time that you spent with this girl today? Do you think you'll remember that forever? Do you think in 4 months, if I would ask you, do you remember the time that you spent with that little girl? Do you remember the time that you gave to her, the attention that you gave her? Do you think that you'll remember that? It will keep you warm at nights 5 months from now or even 5 years from now? And she said, you know what, Abba? That will stay with me forever. If we want to find true happiness, my friends, we have to know that we have a purpose in life. And the purpose is to create a loving relationship with the creator of the world who loves us more than we can ever imagine. The venues are open. The lines of communication are available. We have at our disposal Torah. We have at our disposal tefillah, prayer. We have at our disposal acts of loving kindness as explained to us how to perform acts of loving kindness. Don't think that you can do it just by saying whatever I do is an act of loving kindness. That's not true. You have to learn how to do it. It's all available for us, and God willing, when we explore these avenues of connection, of relationship, we'll find that not only does God love us, but we love Him back. Thank you for listening, and shalom.